The man who invented Death in Paradise now writes murder mysteries set 200 yards from his own front door, in a real English town he can walk to in 5 minutes. And the woman solving them spent 4 films as Miss Moneypenny, a role she took over from the friend she had known since they were both 11 years old.
Someone's just killed the mayor of Marlow.
Fact 1. One man built 4 series. Robert Thorogood is not a name most viewers would recognise. His work is another matter entirely. In 2011, he created Death in Paradise for BBC One, a Caribbean murder mystery that became one of the most watched dramas on British television and sold around the world. He then co-created Beyond Paradise, which moved the format to a Devon market town, then returned to Paradise, which took it to Australia. And in 2024, the Marlow Murder Club, 4 series, 1 writer. That is an extraordinarily rare position for a British screenwriter to be in, and it means that if you enjoy any one of them, you are responding to the same set of instincts about how a murder mystery ought to feel. Those instincts were formed early. Thorogood was born in Colchester in 1972, read history at Downing College, Cambridge, and has said that the whole thing began when he was 10 years old and picked up Agatha Christie's Peril at End House. It was the first proper novel he ever read, and he has been trying to write more of them ever since. He is unusually thorough about it. Alongside the television work, he has written 4 Death in Paradise novels featuring Richard Poole. The detective Ben Miller played in the first 2 series, so the character had a second life on the page after leaving the screen. What makes Marlow different is that this time, the book came first, and Thorogood adapted it himself. He is not handing his creation to somebody else. He is executive producer on his own adaptation of his own novel.
Everyone has secrets.
Stop right there!
What are the 3 of you doing here?
We're civilian advisors to the police.
Fact 2. The author lives in Marlow. Marlow is a real town. It sits on the Thames in Buckinghamshire, about 30 miles west of London, with a suspension bridge, a church by the water, a high street, and a great many extremely expensive houses. Robert Thorogood lives there. This is not a writer researching a location. The riverside walks, the sailing club, the church, the affluent quiet of the place. All of it comes from a man describing the town he does his shopping in. When Judith Potts looks out across the water, she is looking at a view the author sees every day. And the production filmed there. Not a Yorkshire studio pretending to be Buckinghamshire, and not a different riverside town standing in the series shoots in Marlow itself and the surrounding area, which is why the geography holds together in a way that television usually cannot manage. There is a small oddity in this. Marlow is one of the safest and most comfortable towns in England. Thorogood has filled it with corpses. Residents have been remarkably good-natured about being cast as the murder capital of the home counties, and the town has quietly acquired the same sort of tourist interest that Midsummer and Portwen did before it. The pattern is now familiar in British crime drama. Pick somewhere beautiful, safe, and instantly photogenic, and then make it lethal. Marlow simply had the advantage of already being the writer's home.
You found another body?
2 boys murdered in the same spot.
Fact 3. Judith swims in the Thames. Judith Potts is not a detective, a former police officer, or a retired professional of any conventional sort. She is a woman in her late 70s who lives alone in a crumbling mansion, sets crossword puzzles, drinks whiskey without apology, and swims in the river. That last detail is how the whole thing starts. In the original novel, Judith is out for one of her regular evening swims in the Thames when she hears a gunshot from a neighbour's garden. She is the only witness. The police do not take her seriously, and so she investigates it herself. The books are blunter than the television series about how she swims. Thorogood's Judith wears nothing at all. She is a wild swimmer of the old school, and the scene is written entirely without embarrassment. Television softened it, as television does. The rest of the characterization survived intact, and it is the reason the series works. Judith is 77 in the first novel. She is not a plucky pensioner, and she is not there to be found adorable. She is clever, contrary, entirely uninterested in anyone's approval, and quietly lonely underneath all of it. Thorogood has been open about writing against type, cozy crime is full of retired detectives and sharp-eyed spinsters. Judith is a woman who has simply decided that being old is no reason to be careful, which is a rather different proposition, and one that a great many viewers recognized immediately. Fact 4. She really is Miss Moneypenny. Samantha Bond plays Judith. And yes, that is her real surname, which becomes considerably funnier when you learn what she is best known for. Bond played Miss Moneypenny in 4 James Bond films: GoldenEye in 1995, Tomorrow Never Dies in 1997, The World Is Not Enough in 1999, and Die Another Day in 2002. The entire Pierce Brosnan era. An actress named Bond, opposite Bond, for 8 years. The story of how she got it is the part almost nobody knows. The previous Moneypenny was Caroline Bliss, who had played the role opposite Timothy Dalton. Bliss and Bond had been friends since they were both 11 years old. When GoldenEye was cast, the production replaced Bliss with Bond, and the casting director had no idea the two women knew each other, let alone that they had been close since childhood. Both actresses have since said publicly that there was no ill feeling between them about it. But it is a strange thing to have happened. One friend inheriting a role directly from another, through a decision neither of them had any part in. There is a neat symmetry to where Bond has ended up. She spent 4 films behind a desk, being the cleverest person in the room and never getting to do anything about it. Now, she plays a woman who does nothing but. Fact 5. 3 generations of actors. The Bond household is not an ordinary one, and it never has been. Samantha Bond's father was Philip Bond, a working character actor for 50 years. Best remembered for playing Albert Fraser across 24 episodes of the BBC's seafaring drama The Honoured in Line in the 1970s. Her mother was Pat Sandys, a television producer at a time when very few women held that job. Her sister Abigail is an actress. Her brother Matthew is a film journalist. She married the actor Alexander Hansen in 1989, a Norwegian-born stage performer who has worked extensively in the West End and on Broadway. Their 2 children are both actors as well. Her own credentials are considerable and largely theatrical. She trained at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School, joined the Royal Shakespeare Company, and played Hermione in The Winter's Tale and Celia in As You Like It. At 24, she played Juliet, opposite Kenneth Branagh's Romeo in the West End. British viewers know her from elsewhere entirely. She was Lady Rosamund Painswick in Downton Abbey, the Earl of Grantham's widowed sister. She was Auntie Angela in Outnumbered. She originated the role of Ms. Liz Probert in Rumpole of the Bailey, and she played the villainous Mrs. Wormwood in the Sarah Jane Adventures. That last one matters more than it looks, and we will come back to it. If you're enjoying this, it would mean a lot if you subscribed. It helps us keep making videos like this one. Just hit that button and you'll never miss a new one. Fact 6. Suzie was once the Doctor. Suzie Harris is a dog walker. She is loud, warm, socially fearless, and the member of the trio most likely to simply walk into somebody's house and start asking questions. She is played by Jo Martin. In 2020, Jo Martin became the first black actor ever to play the Doctor in Doctor Who. She appeared as the fugitive Doctor, an incarnation nobody knew existed, revealed mid-episode in one of the biggest surprises the programme had produced in years. It was kept so quiet that the announcement genuinely startled a fan base which is not easily startled, and the character has since returned more than once. So, the woman walking dogs along the Thames has, in another life, flown the TARDIS. And here is the connection promised a moment ago. Samantha Bond played Mrs. Wormwood in the Sarah Jane Adventures, the Doctor Who spin-off built around Elizabeth Sladen's Sarah Jane Smith. 2 of the 3 leads of the Marlow Murder Club have Doctor Who history, on opposite sides of it. One played a villain in the wider universe, the other played the Doctor herself. Martin's wider career runs from Holby City to Back to Life to a great deal of theatre. But it is the Doctor that fans stop her about, and almost nobody watching Marlow makes the connection unprompted. It is worth pausing on what that casting says about the series. A dog walker in a Buckinghamshire town is not a part that normally goes to an actress with that kind of profile, and Suzie could easily have been written as comic relief, the loud one, the one who says the wrong thing. Martin plays her as something considerably more interesting. A woman whose children have left home, who talks to everybody because the alternative is talking to nobody, and whose nosiness turns out to be the most useful investigative tool the three of them have. Fact 7. Billie Jean to Marlow. The first series was directed by a man whose earlier work you have almost certainly seen, whether or not you have ever heard his name. Steve Barron directed the music video for Michael Jackson's Billie Jean. He directed Aha's Take On Me, the one with the pencil drawings. He directed Money for Nothing for Dire Straits, which won Best Video at the MTV Awards in 1986. His videos are frequently credited with helping to establish what MTV became. He then went into film and directed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in 1990, which became the highest-grossing independent film made up to that point. After that came Coneheads, The Adventures of Pinocchio, and an Emmy-nominated Merlin. He also worked repeatedly with Jim Henson, directing episodes of The Storyteller using Creature Shop animatronics, and later became lead director on The Durrells for ITV and on Around the World in 80 Days with David Tennant. And then he directed 4 episodes of a gentle, cozy mystery about 3 women in Buckinghamshire. That range is not accidental. Barron's music videos were built on strong visual storytelling in very short bursts, establishing a place, a mood, and a set of characters at speed. It is precisely the skill a cozy crime series needs in its opening minutes, and it is a large part of why Marlow looks as good as it does. Fact 8. America helped pay for it. The Marlow Murder Club is not simply a British series that America later bought. It was co-commissioned from the beginning. In June of 2023, UK TV and Masterpiece on PBS announced the series jointly. The money came from both sides of the Atlantic before a frame was shot. It was produced by Monumental Television, the company behind the BBC comedy Ghosts, in association with ITV Studios. That arrangement explains a great deal about how the series is made. American public television audiences have a specific and long-standing appetite for exactly this: an English town, a clever older woman, a body, and no gore. Masterpiece has been supplying it since the 1970s. Knowing that audience was funding the show from the start shaped the tone. It also explains the scheduling. In Britain, the series went out on You and Drama. In the United States, it goes out on Masterpiece on Sunday nights, which is the most valuable slot in American public television. The model is now standard for this kind of drama, and it is why so much cozy British crime is being made at all. British broadcasters alone often cannot fund it. Add an American partner and the sums work. There is a certain irony in it. The most quintessentially English thing on television is frequently paid for, in part, by viewers in Ohio. Fact 9. The books came first. Unusually for a television detective, Judith Potts existed on the page for 3 years before she reached the screen, and the novels are still arriving. Thorogood published The Marlow Murder Club in 2021, followed by Death Comes to Marlow in 2022, The Queen of Poisons in 2024, Murder on the Marlow Bell in 2025, and The Mysterious Affair of Judith Potts in 2026. 5 novels and no sign of stopping. The first book was nominated for an Edgar Award in 2023, the most prestigious prize in American mystery writing, named after Edgar Allan Poe. That is a serious piece of recognition for a debut in a genre that critics often decline to take seriously. It also arrived at exactly the right moment. Richard Osman's The Thursday Murder Club had made the older amateur sleuth the most commercially valuable idea in British publishing, and Marlow landed in the middle of that wave. The two are frequently shelved together, though Thorogood's book was written independently. The relationship between page and screen here runs the opposite way to most detective dramas. Morse, Vera, and Shetland all overtook their source novels within a few series and carried on inventing. Marlow has not needed to. Thorogood keeps writing, and the television series keeps having somewhere to go. There is one more wrinkle, and it is a good one. Thorogood came to novels the wrong way round. Most crime dramas are adapted from books by writers who have never worked in television. He spent a decade running one of the biggest detective series on British television first, and only then sat down to write prose. The construction shows. The Marlow books are built like episodes, a closed circle of suspects, a puzzle that plays fair, and a solution laid out in a room at the end. Fact 10. Season 3 changes everything. Series 3 arrives on Masterpiece on PBS on Sunday, the 6th of September, 2026, and it makes a structural change the first two series were building towards. Judith, Becks and Suzie are no longer amateurs pestering the police. They are now formally attached to Detective Inspector Tanika Malik's unit as civilian advisors. That is a real shift, and a risky one. The engine of almost every cozy mystery is the tension between the amateur who sees the truth and the officer who will not listen. Removing that tension means the series has to find its friction somewhere else in the three women themselves, and in what happens when unconventional methods are given official standing. The cases in the new series include the sudden death of the town's mayor and the murder of a celebrity chef at his own cookbook launch. And it is already going further. In June of 2026, Masterpiece commissioned a fourth series of 6 episodes, double the usual order. It will open with a body in the river linked to the Marlow Amateur Dramatic Society and will adapt Murder on the Marlow Bell alongside 2 original stories written for television. For a series that began as one novel by a man describing the walk to his local shops, that is a considerable distance travelled. Judith Potts started out as a woman nobody believed. 4 years later, she has a warrant to be in the room.